Call the May 16th meeting of the Waterworks District Order. Would you please take roll?
Joan McInerney,
Here.
Ken Gambala,
Here.
Jim Zarnik is absent, Joe Wizawati,
Present.
Wayne Pondinas,
Present.
and Tom Nartle.
Present.
Because you only have 2 of the 3 members, all votes need to be unanimous.
Okay. All right, we have, the next item is the approval of the April 18th meeting minutes. You had a chance to look at it. Any comments, corrections?
I did not have any corrections.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve March 21st, 2023 minutes.
All right, I'll second that motion. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. All right. All right. New old business, item number 5. Task orders. Robinson Engineering, who wants to take that?
So task order 2207, which was for wells 8 and 9, the well house design. So one of the things is that, we don't want to spend money unnecessarily. So we've had some internal conversations about this. Haas and Associates has, essentially completed most of the design work for the well housing, and we think that they should be the ones to complete that. I reached out to Tim Haas and asked him if they would be willing to complete that. I'm waiting to hear back from him with respect to that. So in order to save us some money on this, we think that's probably a better approach to do that, as opposed to reinvent the wheel, if you will. So I think we hold off on any progress on those well houses until we hear back from Haas. There was discussion, and Tom, I know we had these discussions with respect to possibly treating the water at the well houses. In that case, then it was kind of like, well, do we have to reinvent it, or do we just have to reconfigure the design to accommodate the treatment? But I think we've got an alternate plan for the treatment, which I think in the long run will work out better, having an off-site. So they won't be treated necessarily at the well houses, so we can move forward on getting the design finalized and then move to the construction phase at that point. So Tom, is that about?
Yeah, let me just chime in a little bit too. So President and Board, one of the things that's occurred since when we started this project until now is that the pilot study came back saying that we could load the filters at a much higher hydraulic loading rate, which means it's going to affect the footprint of the future filters we're going to be putting in. So that's really a game changer. And so with that, we decided it's best, let's just step back, see what we got. And then we haven't got the full report yet from the pilot study. We're still waiting on that. It should be coming in a week, I'm guesstimating at it. And so I would say everything Joe said that we're in agreement with.
Yeah, I remember we talked about this with Haas about a year ago, so that's what, so you're recommending we table it?
Well, I think for now, we don't need to move forward on it. So whether we table it or not, I don't know. Was there any work that Robinson
there was.
kind of performed on that?
We had topography done and preliminary design done.
Okay.
And that's where we're at with it.
Which task order was that against?
That was at 2207.
07, okay.
Yeah.
So
one of the things that kind of threw a wrench is that we couldn't get on the site, the property associated with it. So that's where we're at with it.
Yeah, so we're just not going to move forward with the task order going forward because it doesn't make any sense to right now, since we're going to keep what we've got basically and move forward with the design that Haas has, if they're amenable to that, obviously. And the thing is, I know there's an ethical issue with respect to like Robinson taking their plan and design and moving forward with it, and Haas wouldn't do the same thing. So if we're going to use Haas's plan and save the town money, then we move forward with that plan.
That's an excellent point. We couldn't copy their work. It had to be a Robinson design done by Robinson employees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
You can't be taking responsibility for the design of another engineer, so. We're just tabling the first one?
So yeah, we'll do all three, I guess, at the same time.
So
Right.
2207 though is Haas would be the engineer for that project.
Right.
But we're also waiting before we would proceed any further with 2207 until we get the results of the pilot study.
With respect to Robinson and their portion of the engineering part on that.
Right, but I think, just so that we're clear, the pilot study is going to play more in 2208 on a regional treatment plant.
Okay.
Right.
That's where it's going to play the
And while
most.
Yeah, so basically we want to authorize all the work that's been performed on there, get paid on there. But as far as the task order moving forward, we're going to kind of, hit the brakes on that until we get a specific spot for the regional treatment plant. I think it doesn't make sense to move forward on that. I think we're kind of at a standstill.
On 2208.
Correct. I think we're kind of at a standstill on 2208 until we get a more specific, location defined. And we have right now 3 options that we're taking a look at. We met with the Mr. Lawton. He's presented us basically with 3 very good options in terms of location, and I think it just comes down to which one makes the most sense. So we're working with him on, getting that done, and then I think once we get that figured out, then we move forward with 2208.
Can I build a little bit on that, too?
Oh, yeah, please.
So after we get the pilot study back, we're going to meet with IDEM about the recertification of the existing filters you have. The existing filters will now be increased by 50% hydraulic loading on it. So that means we may be able to downsize the regional treatment plant. When we started the project, we were going under the auspice that was to be held by the 10 state standards, which IDEM follows, and just to get technical, it's 4 gallons per square foot. Now we're finding out we can load it at 6 gallons per square foot. So once again, it reduces the size. And in the beginning, the property was in flux. Now Mr. Wizawati met with the developer, and they came to some great ideas of where they could put it. It's really, really close to originally thought it was going to be, but the footprint of the building is going to be much smaller too. So let's wait till we get the pilot study data in. Let's get the conversation with IDEM going. When we get the blessing from IDEM, then we'll have a better idea. And keep in mind, this is a moving target. We could originally put it through the way with the 10 state standards, but there's a better way of skinning a cat here. And we're going after the better way of skinning a cat.
Right. And then the next one is the 2209, that's for the interconnect, and it's kind of the same thing. We want to make sure that we've got the location for the treatment facility where we're going to treat it first done before we get kind of into the interconnecting portion of it. So, obviously Robinson's done work on some of this work already, but, we want to just kind of hit the brakes for now until we get the location finalized and then bring that back to the board for you guys to make a better decision on how we move forward. I did speak to Mr. Zarnik. He's in agreement on all of these points, and wanted me to convey that to you as well.
Any questions?
07, 08, and 09
Right.
are all going to be, we're tapping the brakes.
Right. So we're
Yep.
gonna table moving forward on those,
Yep.
but we're gonna authorize that those payments that for the work that's already been done be paid under those task orders.
You want to keep this on the agenda or just bring it up at a future date? Or these items, you want? to
Yeah,
keep it on
we'll
for
bring them back
updates?
up. We'll bring them back up when we're ready to move forward again on them. And obviously, we're not going to move forward on that until we have some finalized details on where we're moving with the treatment plant. Because that's a big, it's a big decision, and it's also going to take a little bit more time in figuring out how this all fits into the hydraulic study and everything else too.
All right, so next item, we got financials, so I guess you're next.
Can you hear me? Is this on, Jason?
Yeah, it's on.
All right. Evening. Let's see. So you should have the 23 financial management plan sitting in front of you. So this is a report that covers historical projected financials, fund balances, capital improvement plans, debt obligations, and some miscellaneous information that will be a useful tool as we look towards a healthy management of the utility. So the first few pages are mainly a summary. I'm not going to go through the entire report.
Thank you.
But I'd like to immediately direct your attention to page 8, which is also Exhibit D. So this is a forecast of receipts and disbursements for 23 through 2027. And you can see we break this down by operating receipts, operating disbursements, and then non-operating. And I know oftentimes I've been asked questions, what's the difference between operating and non-operating? Operating is, of course, the metered sales, things like that, that go directly towards funding operations of the water utility as a whole. And then non-operating would be something like debt service, which is not a consistent year-to-year type of expense. So a couple of assumptions and highlights that we've built into this. And I guess I should preface this with saying the reason why we're looking at this page first is because this is probably the most informative. It gives you a good outlook of forecasted balances and forecasted receipts and disbursements over the next 5 years, as opposed to a historic look back, which, that's all said and done already. So for operation, we've assumed a 3% increase generally, with one exception, which is the Cherville source of supply, Cherville water purchases. It's likely that that amount could reduce or be completely eliminated over the next couple of years. However, to take a bit of a conservative approach, we've plugged in $350,000 over the next 5 years.
And I'm sorry, is that the amount that it was in 2022?
No, so in 22, I have that. Give me 1 second. In 22, it was 462,000, and it's been generally decreasing over the last couple of years. So as you look towards the bottom of page number 8, you can see I am projecting a net increase or decrease in cash. We call it net cash flow. The capital improvement line just above there, just above the red negative 5 million, you'll see that I've plugged in about 7 million, and we'll get into the detail of that here in a second, but I just wanted to make one quick note that it's our recommendation to use the bond proceeds from the 2021 water bonds to pay for some of these projects, as opposed to using what's sitting in just generic cash reserves. All right, so with that in mind, and we may flip back here in just 2 seconds, I'm going to take you to page number 10, which is a listing of all the capital improvements. And I'll note that these are estimates and could come in at a higher or lower level depending on the extent and the timing of the project. We may shift some of these projects down, especially after that conversation we just had. There may be some rearranging of these projects, or there may be new projects to add into this list. So this is a living, breathing document that is not dictating the exact capital improvements that we've agreed today. So if we update this in 6 months, it could look quite a bit different. I just wanted to put that in the back of your heads as we talk about potential funding and affordability of specific projects. Does anyone have any questions, by the way? I may be rushing through this.
So the 6.9 million, that's in 2023,
Yes.
that's just what is, like that doesn't represent spending that's happening in this year, correct?
It's not approved orders, if that's what you're asking. Not all of them.
Okay.
I put them all in 2023 because we have bond proceeds from 21 that we need to get spent down within the next
24.
couple of years. Because you're technically not allowed to sit on bond dollars for too long.
As you run into situations with arbitrage, and then you pay back all the interest you earn, and it's not pretty, and it's kind of dumb, but
So for the sake of just painting the picture, I put all of these under 2023 right now.
yeah, because I mean, we've got to get the projects done. It makes sense to get them done, and I think we're moving at a pace to where it can be done. So I think, and to your point, spending the bond proceeds on the capital projects makes more sense than taking it out of the fund balance.
Right, and we also can't
I don't have no paperwork. What are the projects?
On page 10, you've got
I
them.
didn't get any.
It should be in your packet.
This is only for the meeting for,
Oh, you don't have the water.
no.
Yeah, let's say, give me Jim's.
Sure.
Not here.
Is it in here?
It should be. On page 10 here.
So I should mention that the bond construction fund, which is the bond proceeds that I'm talking about, has just over $7 million sitting in it. We haven't spent too much of it in the last 2 years.
You know, what,
But it's gonna get spent, it's gonna get spent on some water main, it's gonna get
Yes.
spent on 2 well houses,
Yes.
and I don't know what else, but we worked hard to get that. And
Yes.
now to just sit there and say you got almost $7 million,
I apologize.
That-
That's not what I
that's
meant
not-
to say. I know that the
some of that's
vast
been,
majority
it's
is
spoken
slated.
for, but it hasn't been acted on.
Yes, yes.
and there's just a
So
point.
Wayne, so on the list on page 10, Exhibit F, which of those projects were tagged to the 2021 bond proceeds?
The Route 41, probably the new well drilling, I think that new well would be number 9. The SCADA system, I don't know if that's almost paid for. I asked Joe before the meeting, so I think we're almost done with that.
Yeah, I think the SCADA systems for the was that the license agreement?
The pilot test 7, 8, 9, I would say maybe if you took the pilot test for 8 and 9, that could be part of that. The hydraulic model that I don't know, Acorn Water Main, that came up this year. That wasn't part of that. I have a list. I don't have it with me. It was for Alcott. It was for Bull Run. It was for other water main projects. A water main for
85th.
from Subway north. That water main's kind of shot. So that now we're putting more stuff into it, and we have that money sitting there. But I don't want other projects to be spoken for, because when we did that, we had those other projects in mind to do. It was,
So I guess what would be helpful from my perspective, and Ken, I don't know what your point of view is, but 2021 bond, when we issued the bond for $7 million, what's the list of projects that it was supposed to be used for? That would be helpful to understand.
right, I don't have that with me.
Yeah, I don't have it either. I know that we
Can
do
you
have a copy
provide
of
that to us
We
via
can
email?
provide it, yeah.
That would be helpful.
And then maybe we have a conversation about after all of those projects are slated for and approved,
Right, and I think
what's
you
remaining.
wanted, the main priority was where the core tile is. So from about the middle of Alsip Nursery, you tie into that valve and go south, I don't know, I think 1,500 feet. But that was like 1.5 million at that time.
Okay.
And then there was whether or not we wanted to acquire the property just south of Canavahans. There was like 4 or 5 properties, and then we figured that was too expensive. And that's been ongoing for 8 or 10 years. But in the last few years, we figured it wasn't worth buying that property and getting it the right way for that.
Yeah, and Tom,
So
I know-
now
Right.
we're going to go underneath somebody's property, and we're not even going to have to go. We're going to stay in the right of way for the state.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
and I know we've had some meetings about that particular project, and as well as the others. And I know we kind of, with Bob Davis and water guys, kind of reprioritized some of that. I mean, we had basically $7 million in order to do probably $20 million worth of projects. So, I mean, you got to kind of prioritize what you got. And that's kind of what I think we did.
Well, I think the bond was 8.4 million, and by
Yeah.
the time you pay your lawyer's fees and you have to pay to get the
Cost
money,
of issuance,
it was
yeah.
like 66,000, 80-some thousand, 8,000 for a lawyer, so you didn't end up with as much. You didn't end up with 8.5, 8.4. It was what, 7.2?
Your issuance costs come out of that as well, so.
And then
Like
we
these
start
people.
breaking it down with the SCADA system and everything else. But I don't want to, we had certain projects in line for that. and I don't want other projects to come in ahead of that.
So I guess for us to be able to understand that, we have to have that list.
Well, you'll get that
Yeah.
list,
Yeah.
but I don't have it with me.
Yeah, so if we can get it emailed to us, because that's the whole question of funding and where does the funding come from? If the $7 million is already committed to other things, then we have to put all the projects and prioritize.
Right. Well, we went out for bid for the miscellaneous water replacement projects, and it came in way ridiculously high. Because you're going from over here to over here. You're not doing this section of pipe, which is a lot easier because you're mobilized to do it right here. When you've got to move and kind of jockey around, that's where I think when we only got like what, one bid on that thing? You know, so.
Yeah, we were going to do
It didn't even make sense.
a water main project between Primrose and Magnolia. That was estimated at, like, say, 600,000, 655. That bid came in at 972,000. So the town said, we're not going to do that. We're going to put it off because that's just way too much money.
Right.
And then
Then
the
Acorn
road had to
came
be, they're going to put it in the road. So
Yeah.
you're going to pave the road, then you're going to tear up the road. So they just put that off on hold. Maybe sometime this year we might get that.
That was on 85th Street, right?
Yeah, on 85th Street,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Thank you, Ken.
Mr. President, may I interject a second here? I know that priorities have changed a bit. I know that Acorn got pushed up to the top of the list, and I think it's because of the residents, what the residents were saying and talking to elected officials, and that's what they wanted to do.
Well, they went out without water. I think that was.
Right.
Yeah, they look like Caddyshack out there.
Yeah.
Right. So, and also, it's dynamic, things are changing.
Shouldn't laugh, it's sad.
We got lists of costs for all the projects we're working on now, which obviously we weren't working on when the bond was issued, because we weren't here. We put them all together, and then you could reprioritize that. Now, Mr. Pondinas, you gotta make, I mean, it's up to you and how you wanna go about doing it, but things that when the bond were done weren't even thought about. Like, for example, changing the media out in the filters. That's really important. Is it important, more important than some water mains? I think as the board can decide what the importance is. And we could have that all together on this list.
That could also come out of water, probably, rather than
Yeah.
the bond money.
I agree with you, but
And maybe possibly ARPA money. I don't know how that's being spent. There might be, but we have to be careful how we work it, not what we do.
I will interject. There's not much room for maneuvering in the main water funds right now.
Okay.
See, when we originally planned the bond issue, two things came up afterwards, like the Acorn project. That wasn't even on the list. But then now it's a priority because of the fact that it's a big problem.
I agree.
But we had to push that up in the beginning on the bond issue. It wasn't even in there. But you have to deal with these things as they come up. And, so just keep in mind that that's, what, 1 million? That wasn't even figured on when we were originally calculating it, remember?
Yeah.
I mean, it just came up last year.
So with that said, we're gonna have prices on the filter media change out in the next week or so. And everything's relying on the subcontractor that's working on, is giving us the numbers on it. We could put together a list of what we feel all the costs are now. We could look at the previous list and maybe do an update on that from what the current prices are running now. And you'll have this laundry list of projects. You can have so many more projects than you could actually afford, but that's what you're supposed to do, is prioritize them. And also come up with a plan on how you're gonna pay for it in the future. So if you wanna take that type of approach, we could do that for you.
And we're also looking to buy them we got the 2 altitude valves, but those have to be put in. So you have
Right.
to get I think your company's
Right.
gonna do the permits for that.
That's on the list.
And then hopefully all that gets done in the fall, and we got, like you said, you're gonna get the price on the filters, how much to change each one out. There's 4 filters. It takes 2.5 weeks to change one out. we can't do it in the summertime because of the water, the consumption. So ideally, everything should work in the fall. So in the fall, you got 2 altitude valves, which I think are already paid for, Joe. So we just need the permit, and then we need to install them.
Right.
And those will help with our water hydraulics of the town, make everything a lot better, and hopefully we'll use less water from Sherrville. That'll help.
I agree. Everything you're saying, I agree, Mr. Pondinas.
I hate to rush a meeting, but I just want to be respectful to the sanitary board too. We do have
Yeah.
a 7 o'clock meeting, so I don't want to go on for like forever, but ask your questions, obviously, but I just want to be respectful of the time, that's all.
The other water main issues that came up did not come out of the bond?
Which one?
The ones that we had to move, the water main and so forth?
Oh, for on
No.
41? No,
No.
that came out of the operating, yeah.
So I guess the follow-up to this discussion is to get a list of all the projects that were in support of the $7 million bond fund and what those dollar amounts of each of those projects are. We add it to the list that is shown here in Exhibit F. And then we make prioritization determines on what will come out of the bond fund, prioritize that list, and then what's gonna come out of the bond fund, what could potentially come out of ARPA, to see where we land at that point.
Okay. We also still have, just my final point on this, we still have roughly $650,000 in debt service every year until 2039, as long as, if we're not to issue any more debt.
2039.
That's the 2021 bonds, yeah.
So 2021 goes to what year?
2039. Okay, so as long as there's no more questions on the financial management report, I will send a recap tomorrow on what we just discussed.
And then we'll get the list over to you guys. I know Ken's seen it, but I'll resend it, because that was delivered, gosh, probably back in, when did, 2019, maybe? 2019?
No, the 2019.
It's been a
And the
minute,
thing too is, many of these projects all depend on other things happening
right,
that we can't predict.
right, and our priorities changed, yeah.
So, yeah, the priorities are constantly changing on this.
Yeah, so I think having the list of all the capital projects that we have, and it becomes a dynamic list, right, is
Right.
a living, breathing list that
Yes.
we keep updating as things happen.
Okay?
Okay. Can do the budget now? All right. So I've put together the proposed 2023 budget. This is mainly based on the last 3 years of revenues and expenditures, some trends we saw, and then certain anticipated constants or expenditures that we know are going to be planned for. So first page is revenues, and then the last 3 pages are the disbursements. And this is broken down by the appropriation line item, which is what you would see in the town's financials. And I'll just give you a second to look through it.
We actually get 10,000 a year on bulk water. Jeez.
Gotta use that every day.
Oh, yeah. In fact, we need to consider raising those rates too for the bulk water, because it's extremely low. Like double it,
It's swimming pool season too is coming.
I know.
Yeah, that one guy uses it all the time. And Cherville has a bulk water station. I think Valpo has two. And what we have is modeled after Valpo's.
Yeah, when we put the thing in, we didn't even think it was a waste of money.
It costs a lot of money. I think Bob Davis said it was just about paid for. But it took, what, 15 years?
Yeah. It's paid for itself. But yeah, we definitely need to consider raising those rates because it is extremely low. When you got people coming from out of town where they could get it cheaper at $4 and whatever cents a gallon
It's,
of gas. That's, yeah, crazy.
So just as a way to better track what we're receiving and spending, it's our recommendation to approve or consider this budget tonight or even at the next meeting, just so a year from today we know what we spent, what we received, we can better track ourselves.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we have not ever had utilities approve a budget. So this is all new.
Only the districts have
Right.
approved a budget.
The
Mhm.
taxing districts or the waterworks and the sanitary districts have had budgets. But having this kind of approved is kind of a new thing.
And has Beth
And
had-
I don't know, I need to check to make sure, so I would obviously want to defer taking action tonight. Whether it would be a recommendation to the council
To
for
council.
approval, or if it's the action of the particular bodies that could do it.
Probably a legal question.
Yeah, that's why I want
Okay.
to check,
I
to make
think
sure.
it'd be the board. You're your own separate entity.
Right, but as you know, the town council approves the budgets,
Right.
so,
So,
and I know Cedar Lake, when they did this, their town council actually approved it, but they don't have a water
See,
board.
We didn't have a water board for what,
Right,
only the last 2 years. So, because the utility board, which was the town council, did the budget.
right. So I'll check on that for sure, and then respond back once I get a determination on that.
Okay.
has Beth had the opportunity to review this at all?
Has that been
Believe
sent over to clerk treasurer's office? I mean, obviously, we wanted to present it here,
Yeah.
but I don't know if she's actually had any,
I know she was in the
I know on the capital,
email for the packet.
yeah. Well, we'll make sure that she gets, at
Yes.
least has eyes on it, and if she has any comments, she can make comments on that. And she may have some recommendations on some changes too, I don't know.
I think
So,
she'll appreciate that this is broken down by appropriated line
Yeah.
number.
yeah.
That'll make the job quite a lot easier to plug into the system.
Yeah, and I know she's eager to have that kind of budgeted out as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get those two matters resolved and answers back, and then we could take action at the next meeting. And Jim will be here as well, so if he has any questions, he can weigh in too.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good job.
Thank you very much.
Yes, good job on that, Daniel.
Reports and correspondence. You want to give us mail updates?
Yes, sir, I do. Acorn Water Main's gonna be ready to go out to bid probably in about a week or so. We just finished up the sanitary sewer portion of it, and then we're ready to advertise on that. Pilot study, we're waiting for the report. It's coming back looking very positive. Mr. Ponditas, you want to elaborate on the pilot study at all? I think it's looking really good, and we're very pleasantly
pilot
pleased.
study on 9 is about done.
Right,
We're just waiting for the report, so I'm thinking it's gonna be the same as 8.
that's what they indicated too, yeah.
Right, and I think everything will be sent, them transition lines, they had a meeting, what, was it Monday? Yeah, about some routes for that transition line, and that's all gonna take effect hopefully within the next month. That'll all be set up, so all the lines will be in the ground, you just have to worry about putting the buildings up. And that, hopefully, the foundations might go in this year.
I hope so,
They
too.
might not be operational, but at least we'll get that part done.
The water model, we're on the 5 yard line now. We just got to get it across, and we got another week or two with that. We met with the Public Works. They're pretty pleased with it. We're going to come back with a report for the board. I'm going to have a discussion on it. And then the Route 41 water main we talked about, and the Kilkenny and Hack Street project is going forward also. Those are the elevated tanks, altitude valves to be replaced out. Matter of fact, it's not to be replaced, that's to be installed new. There's currently not altitude valves on it right now, like what Mr. Pondina says, the operation of the system. With the SCADA system we have right now, it'll be the ability to modulate the valves and open and close them. So, but that work cannot occur until the fall, because we can't take tanks out during the summer, so we're right on target with it. That's all I have, sir.
Wayne, where we at with getting some bids on cleaning the water towers?
Yeah, we did, but it was like 45,000, and
Really?
probably not worth it. Last time they did it was 15,000 for all three, I think. But it was a lot cheaper.
Really?
And then we thought about, could the fire department use their hook and ladder, and we didn't even ask the chief that.
The one at Howard Street looks really dirty.
Well, the one, yeah, Kilkenny, the people are complaining about it, but it is dirty. Gates is getting dirty, but
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
if you want to spend the 50,000, and then we gave out the estimates to the board members. I think you got a copy. So, it's, you have the need for it. Do you want to do it? Needs and wants, and
When would those be scheduled to be painted anyway? Do we know?
Should be a 15-year cycle on it about?
So we're,
so they raised them in '06 maybe.
Yes, sir.
So, I don't know. Do you clean it and then paint it, or?
I think we're close to that
I think we
point.
should do an internal review of the inside and look at the outside and come up with a recommendation for cost on it.
Maybe we do that this fall.
Yes, we could do that for all the
I
tanks.
know a lot of towns are painting the undersides, which tend to get the
All the
black,
black, all that.
yeah, from the condensation and the dirt and all that.
Like a darker color.
Yeah.
We've seen that a lot too, and I think it's a good way to go, because once you see that white paint with little gray or blackish
yeah,
spots on it, it just doesn't add a lot of confidence with people
Yeah.
on it. But the inside is good, I can
Yeah.
tell you that, so.
So I think maybe this fall we take a look at, doing an interior inspection of those to see what we've got. Since we're gonna be doing the altitude valve anyway, you might as well go in and take a look.
Yeah, so both tanks were painted in 2006, Hack and
We're
Kilkenny.
beyond that 15-year period,
Right.
for sure.
Yeah, even the concrete one,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's been a number of years now, too. Jeez.
Since you're gonna have them drained well, except the Gates one won't be drained, but
Well, that's a great point on that. We could do an interior dry inspection instead of sending a remote operating diver in there.
right,
So it'd be cheaper in that manner,
yeah.
okay?
Any questions on updates?
No.
Okay, any other comments, Joe?
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right. And with that, then, I guess the next thing on the agenda is payment of the bills. And, all right, we have a water district, let's see, that's sweet. Yeah, Water District docket for May 17th, 2023, of a total of $44,895.35. Questions?
I had no questions on this one.
All right, well, let's approve that one separately, then I'll entertain a motion.
I make the motion to approve the accounts payable voucher for the Water District docket for $44,895.35.
All right, I'll second that motion. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. And then the next one we're looking at is the water utility for a total of $1,090,721.37. Questions?
So I have questions on the Lake City Bank, on page 2. The 580,000, and then the 272,000.
Oh, that was for the reinvestment. Those were the investments that were purchased. So the clerk's been showing those kind of as an expense, but they're really not. Those are a balance on our balance sheet. But those are investments that were moved, so they were repurchased.
Okay, so
That's-
cash
that's what that
outflow.
is, yeah.
Okay.
Is Cortera, is that a software company?
Cortera is the service that Public Works uses for locates.
But that's not, is that a physical locate company or is that I know they do software locate.
It's software. It's a way to keep out all the records organized.
Is that a regular contract price or is that on need,
It's a yearly,
a yearly? Okay.
and it'll be going up significantly next year.
Oh, really?
We've already gotten the notification.
They use what, 811 and,
Yes.
Oh.
We pay for every 811 call that comes in. We have to pay $3.50, $4 basically, and it's the law. We have to do it.
Are they sorting that? Because a lot of times we got locates for Dyer and Cherville. Are we still having to pay for those too? Or
No.
are we sorting those? And
No, we submit maps every year that shows the current boundaries, and anything within 200 feet of the
boundary line.
location has to be notified. Again, that's the way the regulations are written.
I know I've had to use underground detective because 811 won't locate certain things. So I had to get both of them. And they both charge. All right, other questions?
No, I have no other questions.
Okay, and I'll entertain a motion on that one.
I make a motion to approve the water, the docket for the water utility in the amount of $1,090,721.37.
Okay, I'll second the motion. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Public comment. I guess we're gonna adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion to adjourn.